The spectre of surveillance has haunted societies for centuries. From the eavesdroppers of ancient Rome to the secret police of totalitarian regimes, power has always sought to watch its citizens. In the 20th century, the United States, a nation founded on principles of liberty and individual rights, witnessed its own descent into the abyss of unchecked surveillance. The dark chapters of McCarthyism, COINTELPRO and Red Squad serve as chilling reminders of how easily fear and paranoia can erode democratic values. Today, as we navigate the complex landscape of the digital age, the echoes of these historical abuses resonate with disturbing familiarity. The pervasive nature of modern technology has created unprecedented opportunities for surveillance, raising profound questions about the balance between security and freedom in the 21st century. The rapid evolution of technology, from sophisticated surveillance cameras to powerful data mining algorithms, has equipped governments with an arsenal of tools capable of monitoring citizens on an unprecedented scale. While these advancements undoubtedly hold the potential to enhance security and combat crime, they also raise serious concerns about the erosion of privacy and the potential for abuse. The line between legitimate security measures and invasive surveillance can be blurry, and history teaches us that this line is all too easily crossed in the name of national security or public safety. The parallels between historical instances of government overreach and the modern surveillance state are striking. Just as McCarthyism preyed on Cold War anxieties to justify the persecution of innocent citizens, the war on terror has been used to legitimize the expansion of surveillance powers that infringe upon civil liberties. The tactics employed by COINTELPRO, such as infiltration, disinformation, and psychological warfare, find their modern counterparts in the digital realm, where governments and corporations alike engage in sophisticated forms of online manipulation and control. As we delve deeper into the unsettling parallels between historical and contemporary forms of surveillance, it becomes increasingly clear that the lessons of the past hold profound relevance for the present. By examining the origins, methods, and consequences of these earlier abuses, we can gain a better understanding of the dangers posed by unchecked surveillance in the digital age and work towards safeguarding our fundamental rights in an increasingly interconnected world. The mid-20th century witnessed a dark chapter in American history, the rise of McCarthyism. Fueled by Cold War paranoia, Senator Joseph McCarthy unleashed a campaign of fear and intimidation that targeted anyone suspected of communist sympathies. This era, marked by baseless accusations, blacklists, and public smear campaigns, left an indelible stain on American society. McCarthy's tactics were as ruthless as they were effective. He leveled accusations without evidence, exploiting public anxieties to destroy reputations and silence dissent. The mere suspicion of communist affiliation was enough to ruin careers, tear families apart, and ostracize individuals from society. The fear of being labeled a communist permeated every aspect of American life, stifling free speech and creating a climate of suspicion and distrust. The legacy of McCarthyism extends far beyond the 1950s. It serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of democratic institutions and the ease with which they can be manipulated for political gain. McCarthy's tactics, rooted in fear-mongering, character assassination, and the suppression of dissent, continue to be employed by authoritarian figures and regimes around the world. The lessons of McCarthyism are as relevant today as they were decades ago. In an age of heightened political polarization and social media-driven outrage, it is more important than ever to guard against the seductive allure of simplistic narratives and the dangers of demonizing those with whom we disagree. The fight against McCarthyism is a fight against intolerance, extremism, and the erosion of democratic values. It is a fight that must be waged relentlessly, generation after generation. While McCarthyism played out on the public stage, another sinister form of government overreach was unfolding in the shadows. COINTELPRO, the FBI's counterintelligence program. Operating from 1956 to 1971, COINTELPRO represented a blatant assault on the First Amendment rights of American citizens. COINTELPRO targeted a wide range of domestic groups deemed subversive by the FBI, including civil rights organizations, anti-war activists, and left-wing political parties. The program's tactics were chilling in their scope and ruthlessness. Agents infiltrated targeted groups, sowed discord among members, and spread disinformation to discredit their activities. One of COINTELPRO's most notorious targets was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a prominent leader of the civil rights movement. The FBI, under the direction of J. Edgar Hoover, viewed King as a threat to national security and subjected him to relentless surveillance and harassment. Agents tapped his phones, bugged his hotel rooms, and even attempted to blackmail him with compromising information. The exposure of COINTELPRO in the 1970s sent shockwaves through American society. It revealed the extent to which the government had been willing to subvert the law and violate the rights of its citizens in the name of national security. The program's legacy continues to cast a long shadow over the relationship between the government and the governed, fueling distrust and skepticism towards law enforcement and intelligence agencies. Long before COINTELPRO, another insidious form of government surveillance had taken root in American cities' red squads. These specialized police units, operating from the late 19th century through the mid-20th century, were tasked with monitoring and disrupting the activities of political radicals, labor organizers, and other groups deemed subversive by the authorities. Red squads operated with little oversight or accountability. They infiltrated targeted groups, collected intelligence on their members, and used a variety of tactics to disrupt their activities, including intimidation, harassment, and even violence. Their actions often went unpunished, protected by a culture of secrecy and impunity within law enforcement. The targets of red squads were often individuals and groups fighting for social justice and equality, labor organizers seeking better working conditions, civil rights activists challenging segregation, and anti-war protesters speaking out against militarism all found themselves in the crosshairs of these repressive units. The Red Squad's legacy is a stark reminder of the dangers posed by unchecked police power and the importance of holding law enforcement accountable for its actions. The tactics employed by Red Squads, such as infiltration, disinformation, and disruption, have chilling parallels in the digital age. Just as these units sought to sow discord and undermine trust within targeted groups, modern-day surveillance technologies can be used to manipulate online conversations, spread propaganda, and silence dissent. The lessons of the Red Squad's era are as relevant today as ever, reminding us of the need for vigilance and the importance of safeguarding our civil liberties. Section 5 whispers in the digital age the phenomenon of gang stalking. While McCarthyism, COINTELPRO, and Red Squads represent distinct historical periods and methods of government overreach, they share a common thread of fear, paranoia, and the suppression of dissent. These programs highlight the vulnerability of open societies to the abuse of power and the ease with which legitimate security concerns can be twisted to justify the erosion of civil liberties. In the digital age, concerns about surveillance and the erosion of privacy have taken on new urgency. The proliferation of digital devices, coupled with the rise of social media and the increasing reliance on cloud computing, has created an environment in which vast amounts of personal data are collected, stored, and analyzed by both government and private entities. The phenomenon of gang stalking, while lacking a universally accepted definition, often involves allegations of coordinated surveillance, harassment, and intimidation by multiple individuals, sometimes with perceived connections to government agencies. Whether real or imagined, these experiences tap into deep-seated anxieties about the erosion of privacy and the potential for technology to be used for malicious purposes. While some cases of alleged gang stalking may be rooted in mental health issues or misinterpretations of events, others raise legitimate concerns about the misuse of surveillance technologies and the potential for individuals to be targeted based on their political beliefs, activism, or other protected characteristics. Section 6, Funding the Watchers, the Flow of Money and Power. The expansion of surveillance capabilities, both historically and in the present day, has been fueled by a complex interplay of factors, including technological advancements, political expediency, and the flow of money. Understanding the funding mechanisms behind these programs is crucial to comprehending the power dynamics at play and the potential for abuse. During the Cold War, fear of communism served as a powerful justification for increased government spending on national security, including surveillance programs. The McCarthy era saw a dramatic increase in funding for the FBI and other intelligence agencies, enabling them to expand their domestic surveillance activities. COINTELPRO, for example, was funded through a combination of congressional appropriations and covert sources, including the CIA. This lack of transparency and accountability made it easier for the program to operate outside the bounds of legal and ethical constraints. In the post-9/11 era, the war on terror has provided a similar rationale for expanding surveillance powers and increasing funding for intelligence and law enforcement agencies. The passage of the Patriot Act, with its broad surveillance provisions, has been widely criticized as an overreach of government power and an infringement on civil liberties. The increasing use of private contractors in the intelligence and security sectors has further complicated the issue of funding and accountability. Private companies, often with little public scrutiny, now play a significant role in developing and operating surveillance technologies, raising concerns about transparency, oversight, and the potential for profit motives to drive the expansion of surveillance. Section 7. Eroding trust, the ethical costs of unchecked surveillance. The expansion of surveillance capabilities, while often justified in the name of security, comes at a significant ethical cost. The erosion of privacy, the chilling effect on free speech, and the potential for abuse represent serious threats to the fabric of a free and open society. When individuals feel constantly watched and monitored, they are less likely to express dissenting views, engage in open dialogue, or challenge those in power. This chilling effect on free speech undermines the very foundations of democracy, which depends on the free exchange of ideas and the ability of citizens to hold their leaders accountable. Moreover, the collection and storage of vast amounts of personal data create opportunities for abuse. Information gathered for one purpose can easily be used for another, and the potential for data breaches and leaks poses a significant threat to individual privacy and security. The normalization of surveillance also erodes trust in government and institutions. When citizens feel that their every move is being tracked and monitored, it creates a climate of suspicion and fear that can undermine social cohesion and civic engagement. Section 8. The precarious balance, security versus freedom in the digital age. Navigating the complex relationship between security and freedom in the digital age requires a nuanced and balanced approach. While it is essential to acknowledge the legitimate security concerns that drive the development and deployment of surveillance technologies, it is equally important to safeguard the fundamental rights and freedoms that are the cornerstone of a democratic society. Striking this balance requires robust oversight mechanisms, transparent and accountable governance, and a commitment to protecting individual rights. It also necessitates an informed and engaged citizenry that understands the trade-offs involved and demands accountability from those in power. One crucial step is to ensure that surveillance activities are subject to meaningful judicial oversight and legal constraints. Warrants should be required for targeted surveillance, and the scope of such surveillance should be limited and proportionate to the specific security threat being addressed. Transparency is also essential. The public has a right to know what information the government is collecting, how it is being used, and what safeguards are in place to prevent abuse. This includes requiring government agencies to disclose their surveillance policies and practices, as well as providing avenues for individuals to access and correct inaccurate information held about them. Section 9. Reclaiming our rights, a call for transparency and accountability. The fight against unchecked surveillance is a fight for the future of freedom and democracy in the digital age. It is a fight that requires the collective efforts of citizens, activists, journalists, and policymakers committed to upholding the values of privacy, free speech, and accountability. We must demand greater transparency from our governments and hold them accountable for their surveillance activities. This includes pushing for stronger privacy laws, robust oversight mechanisms, and independent audits of surveillance programs. We must also support organizations and individuals working to expose abuses and challenge government overreach. The right to privacy is not a luxury, it is a fundamental human right essential for the functioning of a free and open society. By standing up for our rights, speaking out against abuses and demanding accountability from those in power, we can work towards a future where technology serves humanity, not the other way around.